The biggest news networks in America are spreading a story this week about how a U.S. citizen was beaten to death by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. This story is crazy on its face, but oddly enough, there are a lot of major details that the media completely left out of this story, details that just might change your entire perspective on the whole thing. So late on Friday afternoon, some local Palestinian Arab terrorists attacked a few Jewish shepherds near the Jewish community of Ma'ale Levona. The Palestinian terrorists used stones, used slingshots, and damaged and burned some agricultural equipment. 2 of the Jewish shepherds were injured. Now, keep in mind that throwing rocks at cars and people is considered a lethal attack, as people have been killed from these kind of attacks in the past. As it turns out, this attack was actually well planned ahead of time, and these Palestinians were accompanied by leftists and anarchists who go around stirring up Palestinians to attack settlers. As the situation grew extreme, security forces were called to the scene. When the IDF showed up to repel the Arab rioters, several explosive devices, including a gas cylinder that the Arabs had previously placed, blew up, and miraculously no one was injured in these explosions. Because of the serious nature of this attack, more Jewish residents from the area also showed up, and a skirmish began between them and the Arab terrorists. Hours after the entire incident was over, the Palestinian Authority reported that they found 2 Arabs at the scene. One was dead, and the other one died on the way to the hospital. They refused to hand over the bodies to Israel for an autopsy to determine the cause of death, which is very suspicious. According to Arab reports, one was killed by live fire and the other one was killed by a club to the head. One of these Arabs who was killed was a U.S. citizen who was born in Florida and was visiting family in a nearby Palestinian town. But here's the thing that no one else is talking about. Shortly after the attack, Hamas issued a statement of mourning, claiming this American Arab as one of their own and mourning him as a jihadist martyr who was killed while resisting the settlers' attack. First off, there's no actual evidence out yet as to whether or not these Arabs were even killed at the scene of the violent Arab attack against Jewish settlers. Secondly, if they were actually killed in this incident, this was a planned and coordinated violent attack against Jews, an attack that couldn't be ignored. There are also pictures of the American Arab driving around in the States with a PLO flag draped over his car. And I'm sorry, but if you come all the way from Florida to Israel, then use your tourist visa to attack Jews, then if you lose your life in that attack, it seems like you kind of had that coming. How the mainstream media reports these kind of stories is getting so predictable at this point. They give zero context and simply report the juicy stuff wrapped around a pre-planned, pre-approved narrative in a way that their readers want to hear. Here are a couple major headlines that came up with a simple Google search. CNN, Palestinian-American beaten to death by Israeli settlers in occupied West Bank. Another man shot dead, health ministry says. New York Times, 2 Palestinians are killed in a West Bank clash with Israeli settlers. NBC, American beaten to death by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. Reuters, U.S. citizen killed in West Bank settler attack. All of them chose to focus on radical settlers attacking Palestinians and didn't give any context at all as to what actually happened. I want to make something very clear. Statistically, there's no such thing as settler violence. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Between 2014 and 2024, a total of 1,356 cases of Jewish nationalist-motivated crimes were opened by the Israeli police in Judea and Samaria, compared to 4,748 Arab nationalist-motivated crimes cases opened by the police. And that doesn't sound crazy at first, but here's the thing. Those Arab crimes were just ones that were dealt with by the Israeli police. That doesn't count the tens of thousands of Arab terror attacks against Jews dealt with by the IDF. Get this, Between 2019 and 2022 alone, there were 24,808 reports of just stone throwings and Molotov cocktail incidents, and that excludes any shootings, stabbings, or bombings by Palestinian Arabs against Jews. So yes, there are crimes committed by Jews who live in Judea and Samaria, but it's actually significantly less than any big city in the US, and when comparing it to Arab crime, it is about 4 times less. And while you have Arab terrorism against Jews, there is no such thing as Jewish terrorism against Arabs. Last week, it was announced that the IDF is sending 2 new battalions to Judea and Samaria. Why? No, not because of settler violence, but because of the increase in Palestinian Arab terror attacks against Jews. Just last week, 2 Arab terrorists entered a grocery store at the Gush Etzion Junction and started shooting and stabbing people. A young man, just my age actually, who was a security guard for the store, was murdered. Thankfully, both terrorists were neutralized on the spot. And this was the same grocery store where Ari Fold was murdered 7 years ago. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing. Really helps us out. You definitely won't regret it. Catch you guys in the next one.